The opening round of the Kumho Tyre New South Wales Sports Sedans Championship for 2021 is proudly brought to you by CTFD Group and these valued partners. Opening round for the Kumho Tyre New South Wales Sports Sedans Championship for 2021, proudly brought to you by CTFD. And as the field storms into turn one, you can see it's Nick Smith are going around the outside. A great move there, Gary.
Yeah, very different looking grid to what we've seen in 2020. Nick Smith back up the inside. The Nissan turbocharger, a bit of a bump with Shields. Brad Shields was off for pole, of course, and now he's got a real fight on his hands with Nick Smith in that RX-7, as I said before, Nissan-powered turbocharge, and he's really taken it up to him.
This is a new one at the top of the field here this year, 2021. We've got two cars, both without V8s under the front of them, so it's going to be good to see for some of the four-cylinder and rotary brigade, but at the moment it's the rotary 13B turbo powering that Fiat 124 Coupe. Joe said putting in a huge amount of work last season and in the off-season this year. It's running a new sequential gearbox as well, so all things for Brad Shields to get used to here at Sydney Motorsport Park. And now Nick Smith to the outside at the end of lap one. Second verse, same as the first here into turn one.
Yeah, and hangs on tight on the outside. Can he pull this move off? So go down towards turn two. Shields on the inside. Will get the spot back. But as you said, no V8s right at the front. We've got Stuart Inwood back there in his Chev Corvette. But we've had a problem there for Lloyd Godfrey in the Honda Integra. That's had a drama somewhere over the top of the tunnel by the look of it. And here's a move happening with Paul Shett going down the inside of Scott Cameron. Two names we haven't been that familiar with, although we have seen the Corvette before. And it dramas up there at turn 10, slips a bit wide, and Cameron gets that spot back.
There's a car smoking on the inside, and I think that's the Aston it is. That looks to me like a blown motor as it pulls to a stop. So Duggan, unfortunately, all the steam coming out of it. One without the steam coming out, though. Nick Smith down the inside, and he takes the lead of this race into lap three. Brad Shields, not much he can do. The straight line speed of that Fiat is up this year, but not enough once the turbo's wound up on that SR20. And Nick Smith, you can see, covering the line. Look at the agility of the Fiat. Brad Shields just able to place it wherever he wants.
Well, that's that short wheelbase on the Fiat 124. He can point and steer it wherever he wants, and even get correction going as well as he tries to chase down Smith. But as we said, V8's missing, of course. Steve Lacey with dramas there. We see Mark Duggan getting out of that car. Beryl Shetton had a crash on Friday I should say, and here we go with Bochette.
Back down the inside, isn't he?
Cameron, yes, gets it. All screwed up out of that corner again. Grant Dillman, of course, who is the current New South Wales Kumho Tyre State Champion, is not here this weekend as well. So quite a few missing. Steve Lacey with dramas, and of course the other one missing is Mick Bullis in the Chev Corvette with a blown engine.
A lot of Chevs missing from this weekend with the Camaros and the Corvettes out. Steve Lacey will be kicking himself though, because it was probably a good opportunity to make up some championship points after Grant Dillman probably won't be out much this season. Talking to the team, they're just looking to develop that car a bit more. They need to pull it all apart. After you run one of these cars hard for a season, it can be tough going. Down in Division 3 though, you can see here we've got Lighthead, Pillars and David Atkin on screen, and Pillars losing out to Atkin around the outside. That's a Chev-powered BMW that's past the Chev-powered Commodore.
Yeah, in the meantime, they're both chasing that Alpha-powered Alpha.
Yeah, one with a motor in it that actually suits. Lighthead's car, of course, has been around for many, many years. Pillar's car is the ex-Bullis Commodore, and he's making good use of that. And then just behind them, Spiteri, who is in an Evo that is racing across both improved production and sports stands here this weekend. So they're getting plenty of miles on the Kumhos of that one.
Well, that's actually the improved production over 2-litre championship car from 2020. And Trevin Spiteri normally drives it there. John Spiteri in the sports sedan. So it's doing double duties this weekend, and it's been doing that for a couple of seasons now.
Great to see the Spiteri supporting sports sedans for such a long time. As we see Nick Smith now on the back of this group, he needs to work his way through the traffic as the door comes off of Atkins' car down the main straight. So a lot of pace obviously in the BMW. I dare say that wasn't sealed 100% correctly, and you can see there Dave Atkin through the side intrusion bars. Gives you a good look of the roll cage of a Division 3 car. And further around, it looks like Glenn Crowe slowing to a stop in the 121 Toyota Supra as well. So the Supra with no more go, and he pulls off before turn 6. Unfortunate for him.
Yeah, and what we also seen there is Nick Smith had the lead, but now into the pit. So he had the wood over Shields there by the look of it. Now all of a sudden he's in the pits with drama. So wow, they're falling like 9 pins here, aren't they?
Exactly. You can see there from the replay smoke in the cabin. So some sort of engine drama as we go back and have a look at this battle that continued again. Scott Cameron up the inside of Paul Beauchet after he runs wide at turn 2. So Beauchet with a lot of work to do in the Corvette, and then behind them Chris Jackson, who is driven from the rear of the field, is now putting pressure on these 2 cars in front. So these 3 cars, all not brand new to the category, but newly returning after a lot of work to all 3 of them. So,
well, that's a fight for 3rd, 4th and 5th positions at the moment, because Stuart Inwood's up the road a fair way out of sight, as is our race leader Brad Shields. But this one's going to go all the way to the wire.
Paul Beauchet laying the licorice stripes out of the hairpin as Chris Jackson tries to put as much pressure as he can on in the CSJ Calibra, and you can see he's laying the rubber down out of the final corner as well. Absolutely fantastic machinery all the way through Sports Stands, and Chris Jackson, after that team misqualifying, he's had to drive his way through. And the interesting thing about that car is how much they've changed the rear. From a visual perspective, it looks very different to how it did last time we saw it.
Indeed it did. And here's our race leader coming down the front straight. Done it well. He's had a fight on his hands, this one.
Yep.
And takes a checkered flag. So first up, round 1, race 1 winner. Meanwhile,
a little bit of a touch there.
There was an attempt by Jackson to go around the outside of Beauchet at turn 8. Didn't quite come to fruition. And has he got another chance to get it back as they come up towards the final few corners?
I'm not sure he will. He'll have to sit in behind because Beauchet's pretty quick down the straight. You can see again Jackson sliding out of the final corner. Ultimately, he can't overhaul him. So at race 1, it's Brad Shields who takes the win. Stuart Inwood second. Third goes to Scott Cameron. Paul Beauchet holds on for 4th from a charging Chris Jackson in 5th.
Hi, I'm Scott Cameron. Racing the 111 Holden Commodore Sports Sedan this weekend. So first time in the championship, and just going to see how we go. It's been kind of a work in progress the last couple of years, but yeah, we're finally ready after COVID's kind of cleared up a little bit to get out here, and new sponsor on board, Renaissance Fit Out Specialists. So we welcome them on board this year and really look forward to a great year ahead with the New South Wales Sports Sedans. Yeah, the car, we did a test day a couple of weeks back here at night, and that was really good. And then we raced the Bathurst 6 Hour last weekend, which was great, just to get bum back in the seat. Really, that was the main thing, and yeah, pretty much ready for a good weekend. See how we go.
Time for race 2 from the Kumho Tyres New South Wales Sports Sedans Championship 2021 season here at Sydney Motorsport Park. Proudly brought to you by CTFD this weekend. And Brad Shields leads them comfortably down into turn 1. Nick Smith not getting back out there. He actually partook of the warm-up lap. And unfortunately for them, an electrical drama saw the car pull off at the exit of turn 2. You'll see it as our shot pans around. There it is in the background. And a big spin for the number 3. That's Barry Kelleher in the TA2 Mustang.
Yeah, ex-motorcycle racer, ex-speedway driver, having some fun in a Trans Am car, and unfortunately he looks like he's beached it there. So that could be a drama. In the meantime, we're looking out the front of Cameron's Commodore. And look, this fight's on now. Beauchet takes the fight up to Shields out in front as they go down towards turn 2, and Brad Shields gets that spot back.
Now Beauchet was looking to really put the pressure on Shields into race 2. We spoke to him after race 1 and he just didn't feel like he quite had the setup in the car that he wanted to have. They did a few changes and tuned it up, and he was saying that he should now have the straight line speed to be able to take it to these guys. He knows that the straight line speed is where he is his strongest, so he needs to just stay with Shields as best he can. Sitting in behind is the Rural and Civil Earthworks car of Stuart Inwood. There it is, the green Corvette, the C5. It just sits there and thereabouts every single race for the last about 18 months, hasn't it? And he just keeps picking up those points.
Well, he's had no reliability issues so far this weekend, touch wood. Had a couple last year, but was still consistent, and that's the main thing. Did notice there that Mark Duggan back out there, they've replaced the engine in that car overnight, and he said now it's got red paint, it's got at least 25 more horsepower because red cars go faster.
Definitely looks faster as they swing down into turn one. It looks like a little bit of tyre rub for Gessler in the BMW. He lost out position there to Glenn Crowe, who got himself back out after those dramas in race one. They managed to repair the motor overnight and get him back out there, and you can see now Spiteri all over the back of Gessler as well. Pillars trying to close the gap, and we'll see if Spiteri can do anything as they come up under the bridge around Corporate Hill. Gessler's going to close the gap there to him, but the wisps of smoke probably don't look good for Gessler, and it doesn't look good for Scott Cameron either, as now Duggan charges past in the Aston Martin. The speed under the front of that thing. They've got the new motor in it, and obviously it's working just as well as the old motor. It's a little bit wide though around the outside.
It's certainly got a little bit more straight line speed, hasn't it? As Duggan powers away from Scott Cameron. The Cameron Chev engine there is an older spec rather than the newest NASCAR style block that they're running, so he does lose out in a straight line. That car been sitting in a garage for a while, gathering a bit of dust. I thought, oh, let's get it out, give it a run for the season. Looks pretty good in that black and green colour scheme. They've
presented it immaculately well, and the team is very serious about how they go racing. Of course, Scott Cameron with an extensive history in racing as well. He's raced in the V8Us, he's raced in production cars, HQ Holdings, all sorts of categories with success. As we go to the front, and Boscher getting past Shields, a little slide into turn 6. You'd have to think there's a problem with Shields' car though. It just did not pull out of the corner.
Well, look
at that. He stands down.
Is he having a gear change problem, I wonder? He's got a handoff though. Because of paddle shift, you'd think he'd be working the gear sticks up on the column, but still going. It just looks like it just doesn't get any power out of the corners, and I guess what you do now is just hold on and try and get points. And at the moment he's still got Inwood behind him, so he's in second spot. Bochette in that Dodge-powered Chev Corvette leads the way at the moment, and Inwood is catching Shield, and this is the telltale part of it, because you know that there's nothing like a V8 getting out of a corner when you have to, and they can certainly barrel along there, and he comes up over the top. Notice he's not changing gears. Well, he is on one side, but not on the other, so I dare say that there is a drama there of some sort. We'll try and get to the bottom of what the problem is there. There's Duggan now in front of Cameron.
Doesn't that Corvette Aston look really good, eh?
Yeah, and it's been looked after by AMAC Motorsport these days. So it's certain you can see that the performance level has picked up significantly.
As the Commodore tries to chase him down the main straight, it's just sitting there or thereabouts in the mirrors. Scott Cameron, he wanted to have a clean weekend, and it's working out for him brilliantly so far, staying inside the top 5 pretty easily, you'd have to say as well, not having too much of a drama, as now Shields starts to drop into the clutches of these two. Brilliant battle, red versus green. They definitely stand out on track, both of these cars. They've just got something a little bit different about the colour that's on both of them, just a bit more reflective to the camera pickups. And you can see Cameron's now sitting on the back, trying to close that gap to the Duggan Aston. It seems like around the back section of the circuit, he's just got that little bit more pace to get himself onto the rear bar by the time they get to the final corner. But then Duggan can put the foot down the main straight and just pull away as he needs to.
Yeah, well, when they get this handling sorted on the Cameron Commodore, it could be more of a threat. It certainly might be a good thing down at Wakefield Park if they go to the next round, which is also the opening round of the Australian Sports Sedan Championship.
May 22 and 23 down there if you want to see a big field of sports sedans, because they will be putting on a show as we see Shields trying to chase down Inwood. He's managing to stay stable on the gap as they come to the checkered flag, and Paul Boscher picks up his first victory with the Corvette in the New South Wales Sports Sedans Championship. Going further back, we've got the Nissan R32 GTR of James Harwood and Glenn Crowe behind him in the Supra, and he's going to get to the inside with a last lap move. So that's a good run for Crowe. He's going to get himself up into 6th place in the race.
Rival Japanese manufacturers going hard at it.
Now, we've seen another R32 GTR as well out there previously, but unfortunately not out this weekend. That's the Boyle car. He's had a few dramas recently in sports sedans, but we've seen it running in a few other things, as now Harwood puts the licorice stripes down out of the final corner and chases Pro down the line, but ultimately not able to get there. So that's the second race for the Kumho Tyres Sports Sedans. Your result, Paul Boscher leading home Stuart Inwood and Brad Shields.
Yeah, very excited. Adrenaline's starting to rise now, and the butterflies are starting to kick in, and yeah, very much looking forward to getting back in the go seat. Oh, not a great deal, in honesty. We did a big rebuild the year before, and then COVID hit, and the car's pretty well sat around collecting dust. So not a huge amount for prep, but the car was pretty well ready to go. I am very excited. So the passion has definitely been fueled by just being around and doing the startups and seeing the other drivers, and yeah, very excited. We're very much a sideways style driver, so nothing a bit of right foot won't fix, and a little bit of correction in the steering wheel.
Race 3 about to get underway, and there we see Brad Shields back. They had a problem with the downshift on. Oh, we've got an accident already off the start. Nick Smith into the tyre barrier, off to the side of the track. That's a fairly major shunt there. We had tyres, and John Spitteri's Evo pulled up as well. So whether there's contact between those two, remembering that Smith would have come from the back of the field. Duggan's got a puncher. Was he involved as well? I think he was ahead of that group, so he might have just been unfortunate to have a punch here. We've got some in-car camera stuff to have a look at. Yeah. And Smith going in, just touching the side or glancing off the side of the Evo, and that's what's put him out into the outside wall.
Unfortunately for him, you can see him switching the car off. Here's the turn 2 camera, and we just have cars appearing. There's the Keller car going off into the gravel trap. Gessler facing the wrong way. Spiteri also looking the wrong way. On board from Chris Jackson might be able to tell the story as he goes down into the sun glare of turn 1. You can't see what's happened on the rider's screen, but there's Spiteri, and they've locked wheels with Gessler in the middle of turn 1. Jeez. Jackson was lucky to get away with that, wasn't he? As we take on board with Spiteri, you see him looking to the left. He knows there's faster cars behind. He hasn't turned down onto the ripple strip there, so I think there's probably just a case of meeting in the middle, unfortunately, and that's put a few cars out of this race. Here's Cameron's view of the 4 wide down into turn 1. Watch the far right, and just the slightest of touch there dug into the back of Inwood's car, and that's what's taken the front left to lose pressure. And he will unfortunately have to tour the pit lane.
There's Brad Shields down the inside to go straight to the lead.
Absolutely,
he didn't leave himself a lot of room there, did he?
Huge amount going on in the early stages
I dare say
of this one.
Anything wider than a Fiat might have been in serious drama. Now Brad Shields is in front as they restart this race, and what I was going to say is they had a problem, couldn't downshift on the paddle shifter. Apparently that was quickly rectified, so we can see him back out in front ahead of Poshed off the start. We're just watching Chris Jackson getting past some of the cars further back in the field. I'm not sure how he ended up back there. And there's Kelleher dicing with the number 32 James Harwood Nissan Skyline.
A little bit of a touch there on the exit of turn 2 as we go on board with Jackson. He's running down the hill behind Glenn Pro now, right up behind the Toyota Supra. He should make light work of this. A bit of flame out the side from Pro's car. That'll no doubt impress the photographers around the circuit. And there's Jackson up the inside and makes the move very easily. Next on the books for him is Scott Cameron as he continues this charge up through the field. Cameron's run a little bit wide out of 6. That'll incentivise Jackson straight to the inside. He makes the move very, very late. He's gone wide, and that's given Cameron the opportunity, but not quite.
I think he's seen him coming and thought, well, I'm going to let him go through there because he's not going to pull up if I stay where I was, and I'll be used as a braking marker. So got out of it very quickly and just let him go.
As Jackson works his way through this final complex. Next up is Inwood. So great drive from Jackson from the rear of the field so far. Also coming through is Duggan behind. We can't quite see him in shot, but he's coming through the field as well with a little bit more pace than half the field. It's not too hard for these Division 1 cars until they start meeting these guys at the front who are about the same pace as them. You can see 6th gear for Jackson down the main straight before he tips in. There's Duggan to the inside of the 32
Harwood.
GTR of Harwood.
Yeah, well, you got to remember he hasn't used up much of his tyre because he was out of the first race very early. So this is an opportunity to get some fast laps in and prepare yourself to get down for this National Championship round at Wakefield Park in May. And as Harwood goes through there, followed by Keller. So he's got clear of Keller in the Trans Am Mustang.
Should find himself now not with too much pressure from behind, hopefully, is now to the inside, not quite Jackson. right on the rear of Inwood. He'll look to the inside now, and a move similar to the one he pulled on Cameron. Hopefully he doesn't go as wide through the sweeper. He holds a much better line this time, so I dare say he knew he got the pass done a little bit earlier there and didn't need to fire it in quite as hard. And you see he's just in front of Inwood as they come around the hairpin.
As you say, a great looking body style on that Calibra, and when we get like Vanphy McCready coming back as well, you got all those guys that were so passionate and right into the New South Wales scene, as well as doing the Australian Championship events that came their way out there. So we're really looking forward to that National Championship round in May. But at the meantime, this one continues. Jackson at the helm of this Calibra. And we know they're all a bit like a first fleet act. They may look like they did a couple of years ago, but in reality they've all been updated and had things chopped and changed in them as technology has come along as well.
As you get the chance to develop the car, that's what these guys do. So Jackson now in front of Inwood, and he needs to charge off at those couple of cars ahead. As we look at this, Pillars is in front of Atkin, who's got Gessler behind him, and then it's Smith behind that. So 4 cars altogether, and Andrew Lighthead just dropping away a little bit in the alpha behind this group. So a battle of the BMWs here. Gessler looks like he's got the run out of turn 1, and we'll look to the inside of Atkin. He's going to just squeeze him across. So the Kumho sponsored car gets down the inside of the Kumho distributor here, with Dave Atkin having to give a little bit of room, and he got the hip and shoulder and lost out to Pillars as well. Yeah, not sure he'll love that one.
Yeah, 2 BMWs with Kumho affiliation, and certainly one that's doing really well at the moment. Brad Shields brings out the Joe Said Fiat Rotary Turbo 13B with the paddle shift now working properly. Comes down, takes a checkered flag. Bit of an acknowledgement there with the weave across the track, across the line. Paul Beauchet in second position, and Chris Jackson brings it home in third. In the meantime, this little battle continues.
It does. Dave Atkin now at the back of it. So Smith saw the opportunity and got past, and he's got up in front of Gessler, and they're all trying to chase down Pillars here. So interesting to see what will go on as they come around the back section of the circuit for the final time. It's the Division 3 battle amongst these guys, as Gessler now gets to the inside of Pillars. So he's making all the moves in the last lap, and there you go, takes another one. So Gessler gets himself up there, and he's now in front. Smith will look for a pass. He's not going to quite do it, and he will have to sit in behind Pillars for this run to the flag. The 2 Commodores split by not much very between them actually as they come around the final corner, and the BMWs on each side. And you'll see here Smith looks to the inside. Is he going to be able to get there by the line? It's the drag race, and ultimately
between the 2 Commodores get to the line.
He doesn't, not quite there. So
and they chase Gessler across the line. Unfortunately, Gessler got a 30-second penalty, so it was a bit of a waste of time. He finished well down. He's still coming down the straight now.
Exactly. As we take a look at the results, Brad Shields led him home from Paul Beauchet. Chris Jackson and Stuart Inwood. We caught up with Brad after the round to get his thoughts.
Yeah, really good. Came away with the win in the trophy race and in race 1. Race 2, we had a few dramas with the cars jamming in gear, so that's why we dropped back a little bit in that one, but we got it sorted for the last race. We've got a few things we need to work on, just refine a few things, and come back faster next round. So none of my calendar clashes this year with my other racing, so we're locked in for the full season this year, so we should give it a good go. Yeah, just thank Joe Said, Tony, all the crew that come out. There's hundreds of guys that come out to support me and Joe, so Joe puts in a huge effort on the car, so he's always working on the thing, so it's good for him to see it going good. So
that's all the action from the opening round of the Kumho Tyre New South Wales Sports Sedans Championship, proudly brought to you by CTFD Group for this weekend. Hope you can join us down at Wakefield Park across May 22-23 as the National Series rolls into town to battle it out with the New South Wales Sports Sedans guys. We're going to have some huge fields, so make sure you get trackside to be able to see all the action. Till then, bye for now.